We're live. Welcome to Wolf's Watch. Thanks for coming back again. Today, we are watching what's happening with the CARE Act. You know, what is actually helpful to business owners. So entrepreneurs, CEOs, listen up. We have two gentlemen with us today that are that are in the trenches. They're working with business owners. They're watching what's happening. They're financial industry professionals. We have Joe DiChiara from the East Coast. Joe, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Jeffrey.
And Pat Walley, who has been working with the SBDC system in Northern California and entrepreneurs in Northern California. Thanks for joining us, Pat.
Hey, glad to be here.
So what have you been seeing? Just right up front, you know, what is there one or two things that business owners need to know right now about what's been happening with the support and the aid that's being offered by the federal government? I know that's like a really big question.
Big question, yeah.
Going with Joe first.
Well, you know, from day one, Pat and I have been on the same page.
Yeah.
You know, with this, saying that if you qualify for one of these programs, by all means, go for it. But it's not in any way even close to being a solution for small business owners. And you know, to be honest with you, I can go on a long rant about what the problems are with the Small Business Administration. But, you know, the fact is that, you know, I try to be in the solution, Jeffrey. And rather than focus on the problems with the loans, because there's been a lot of them that are obvious, the solution comes from really within. When we're talking about small businesses, and I think it's important to define what a small business is, because according to the SBA, a small business is any business with up to 499 employees. And by my measurements, there's something really wrong with our calculation.
That's a pretty substantial business.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you know, I've been a CPA for over 35 years. And, you know, I could run some numbers by you, but very quickly, out of 30 million businesses, 25 million are still classified as sole proprietors. Now, that doesn't even include people like me, who I'm an S Corp and I employ myself. So you throw a couple of million more into that mix, and you're talking about out of 30 million businesses, 90% of them have one employee or less.
Wow.
So, you know, that's where the conundrum starts. So when the Small Business Administration is talking about small businesses, they're not talking about me and my clients. That's the first problem.
Okay. Because, you know, one of the things that has always makes me leery, you know, I look at, okay, the federal government's offering aid, but I think even if I qualify for it, I wouldn't really want to take advantage of it because, you know, I'm concerned what kind of strings are attached and, you know, what could the long-term impact be? Not to mention they just have this drive to not want to have to rely on a government handout to make my business run. Have you been seeing that, or what's your thoughts on what business owners that are coming from that perspective should be doing?
You know, first of all, and then I'll let Pat, you know, chime in here because he's the expert on the SBA and the credit stuff. But you know, it's not a handout.
Okay.
You know, they made it seem like a handout, saying that, you know, this is, you know, you can get up to 10 grand wired in your bank account within 3 days, and it's forgivable. The truth is, and Pat will tell you all the details about it, it's not a handout. You got to qualify. Most people won't qualify, and then if they do, most of them won't get anything forgiven. So they are loans that have to be paid back. And
okay,
if a small business can benefit by that, by taking a loan with the knowledge that it's got to be paid back like any other loan, then by all means they should go for it.
So what have you been hearing? Because I know you've been working a lot with the SBA, Pat, and you even have today you've been involved with training where you're getting additional information about what's happening.
Yeah. So thanks again, Jeff. And Joe and I have been working tirelessly. He's on the East Coast. I'm on the West Coast. We're trying to catch everybody in between. The number one thing is exactly what he said. You know, this was put out by the government as a, you need to get this now. And it was the fear of missing out, FOMO. Marketers use it, and that is absolutely what happened. This is a limited time offer. We're going to run out of money. First come, first serve. Whew, everybody went after it. And then you saw a huge influx of YouTube videos and things on the web that said, hey, this $10,000 advance, it's a grant. It's forgivable. It's, you know, you get it whether you're not, your loan gets approved or not. And so everybody went out with this free money attitude, a big money grab. And I'll say I do a Zoom call every Friday, Zoom at noon. And I say very plainly, Joe can absolutely corroborate this. If you just went out to get free money and you didn't need it, shame on you. And I'll stand by that till somebody proves me wrong. This is not what this was designed for. This was an economic injury disaster loan. It's a loan, first of all. And if your business was injured as a result of this disaster, then yes, you should see if you can get it if you qualify. But if this was just a grab for free money, that's no good. So that's out of the way. What I've been seeing, SBA is still SBA. They have loan requirements. They have financials that you're going to have to provide. There's a whole stack of documents that you need to put together and get your taxes straight, your Schedule C's, your K1s, all that information, your profit and loss statement. If you don't have that or you don't know what it is, then you probably don't qualify for this stuff, okay? If you have already submitted it, this is from the SBA. If you've already submitted and this is crazy, but if you submitted the EIDL before March 29th, you probably aren't going to qualify because they changed the loan process on the 29th.
Oh, really?
So when they went to that express application, those are the ones that are getting processed.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not going to candy coat stuff. This is the real deal. We're at war, right? So I'm just letting it be known as it is. We don't have time for sugar, there's enough diabetics. We don't need sugar.
No. And that's, right? and that's not really what we're looking for here. It's like, we need to know what the brutal facts are on the ground so that we can chart a path through it. Right. There's going to be another side to this. And it kind of leads me to another question then. What's the smart play for struggling business owners right now?
That's a tough call. And, I know Joe and I just got off of a Zoom call a little bit ago, and I was explaining this. So really, the SBA is a loan program. These PPP and EIDL, they are considered products, and they're loan products. Mm-hmm. And what I'm learning and what I've gotten very good at is qualifying people for loans. I'm not a huge, I don't say get a loan, go into debt. That's not, if you don't have to do that, don't. The other option is retool your business, for struggling entrepreneurs. Like Joe said, there's a lot of single owner or solopreneurs that, this is all they've done. This is all they do. And suddenly there's no income, 80%, 90% drop in income. What do I do? If you've got good credit, first of all, I personally have some options for business owners with good credit. You can get funded in as little as 14 days, up to $150,000. No doc, no financials required. It's an unsecured line of credit, basically. So that is one option if a business owner has good credit and needs money for their business. They just don't know how much. They need some. A loan, you got to say, I need $150,000. You get a $150,000 loan, you're making a $150,000 loan payment. A line of credit is not so much. So that's what I offer. Joe, you might have seen some other things. What kind of options have you seen?
Pat, you've been working tirelessly. You've been a great source of information for me. There's only so much one person can do. And that there's hundreds and thousands of people working behind the scenes trying to get the right information to the right people. Yeah. And that's been a challenge because we've been battling this huge onslaught of marketing, of hurry up, and you said it. And we started working together before this, Pat, because, I teach and I follow a basic fundamental set of business principles. And guess what? They haven't changed just because of this disaster.
Yeah.
And what Pat says, if you're a smart entrepreneur, you line up credit before you need it. Not, one of my first great clients, mentor, taught me a thing about bankers. He said a banker wants to give you an umbrella when it's sunny out, and when it starts raining, he wants to take it away. So you want to buy the umbrella when it's sunny out, and right now it's raining, and they're not giving out umbrellas. And what happened is the people in my world, which are the micro businesses, got caught in a conundrum and it's frustrating enough to be a business owner, Jeffrey. It's not easy.
Yes.
And Pat lays it out. These 3 things you can do. You want to lay that out for me, Pat?
Sure.
You got 3 options here.
Yeah, and here's another thing that a lot of people aren't talking about: starting a new business. You can get money for new businesses.
No, I'm glad you mentioned that, because about a week and a half into we're in California, we're broadcasting from Los Angeles, and as you're watching this, just to give you a reference point, and about a week and a half into the stay-at-home order here, or I think it's even before we got the formal stay-at-home order, but about a week and a half in, I took everything I'd planned on doing for 2020 and just threw it in the trash can, pulled out a clean sheet of paper and said, I'm going to assume I'm starting a brand new business from scratch to begin to adapt to what's going on around me. And, as you're watching this, how are you thinking about what you're experiencing right now, and who are you hanging out with? Because I just want to Pat and Joe, I just want to say this real quick. As you're watching this, I've known Pat and Joe both for a couple of years. We've had a chance to meet face to face, sit down, break bread, and talk. And they're both solid in how they look at business. And I appreciate that they ask pointed questions in terms of how I think about stuff, how I'm structuring stuff, what's the the financial planning that's going into it, because it's so easy to get caught up in the day-to-day hectic running with sharp objects, running a business atmosphere. Right. I mean, it's an adventure and a dangerous adventure being in business as an entrepreneur. And they're both very, very good on the financial stuff, but also on business, because they run their own businesses very successfully in what they're doing as well. So I just
Jeff,
I just had to jump in and mention that, but I like that comment about, what if people, it seems like an insane thought to start a business now, but a lot of times when the economy's crashing, people start businesses that end up being phenomenal successes.
Yeah. If you want to be right now, if you can go to school to be a bankruptcy attorney, you'll be wealthy beyond your imagination in a few months.
You're making it sound like the next, starting about 90 days out, we're looking at at the beginning of a tough couple of years.
2021, the end of 2020, the end of 2021. The next 18 months, I believe, now Joe and I have talked about it, and we're kind of the same thought. We're going to see a tremendous amount of bankruptcies because there's no other options. People are backs against the wall. They've dug themselves holes with credit. That's what I see is people call me that I haven't heard from in years. Pat, blah, 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 and almost always their credit's maxed out. They got late payments, and they're like, "Can you help me?" I'm like, "No, I can't. I can give you some advice, but that's what I see." Is that that's up to you how you want to do that. But the 3 things that Joe was referring to is you either your business is tooled properly, your business model is set up right, and your financials are all set with some savings and some assets that you can leverage, liquidity, and your business is going to be okay. It may take a little bit of a hit, but it can get through this financial crisis. And you actually have, like, my business is actually growing right now. I struggled, because I was trying to sell umbrellas when it was sunny out. Mm-hmm. But now everybody's wanting an umbrella from Pat Walley, which is fine. But I'm only one guy right now, so so you're going to be okay. The second is, my business model is such that it makes sense for me to borrow some money, to get a line of credit, to maybe leverage a little debt to try and keep my business afloat, because I know when this is over, and it will be over. it will end. My business is going to be back in, and I can afford the debt service that I'm going to incur and continue on with my business as a profitable cash flowing business. That's number 2. Number 3, you're not going to make it. If you borrow money, you'll just go out of business with more debt. And you got to look at bankruptcy or just folding up shop or actually, starting a new business, because new businesses actually right now have more options than existing businesses.
Now, wait a minute. How is that in the current market conditions? That seems counterintuitive.
Because the SBA, this EIDL, is one loan option. The SBA's PPP, which is actually through the banks, is another option. But the SBA still has the 7A loans available, and those are available for businesses to start up. If you have a Joe on your team, and he's helped you with your business plan through his business plan blueprint, get your entity set up properly, and do all those things. And there's resources like this Small Business Development Center, SBDC. You can go in and actually submit and start. I mean, this guy actually said, if you're smart, you're starting a new business, and put in for an SBA loan. It's still painful. It's complicated, but you can get money, low interest rate, long term from the SBA.
So the 7A loan is the more traditional business startup that the SBA offers in
there's 7A and 7B, but it's kind of complex. But the SBA didn't run out of money. Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
That program no longer has money appropriated to it.
Got it.
So if I could chime in here a second,
please.
Yes. Just hit on a nerve with me. You were in my Facebook Live today, and I was talking about the principles that I've learned from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich, The Law of Success, The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles. And like I said when we started, none of those principles have changed. Those are time-tested success principles that work in good times, and it'll work in the worst of times. So now the question is, who would be crazy enough to start a business in these times? Well, we have history, and it was called the Depression, when people had no choice but to start businesses. And what happened was that's what spurred this country to become great, because people innovated. They started businesses from scratch. They didn't borrow money. They just started businesses with sheer ingenuity and tenacity. And that produced more millionaires than ever before. There's an old Chinese proverb, and I'll never forget this, where there's chaos, there's opportunity. And there's a lot of chaos now. And people like Pat, like myself, we thrive because we're entrepreneurs and we're Americans. This is in our blood. So if you're, thin-skinned and you can't take it, well, maybe you don't belong in business. And that's the hard fact.
That's Joe. That's just harsh.
People don't like when I say that, Jeffrey, and that's just tough. And if I say something like that and I scare you, well, then you don't belong in business, because business is not for sissies.
That's right. That's very true. And as you're watching this, I'm sorry, Joe, as you're watching this is a very mild version of the conversations that I've had with these two over lunch and dinner. So, you got to have some fortitude if you're going to be in business for yourself.
And you guys are both right. I mean, it sounds a little harsh, but if you've got thin skin, you think that it's just going to fall into your lap and it's all cherries and roses. There's positive attitude's a big part of it, but it's the ones that failed didn't pay attention to the details to build your house on rock. And they just built their house in sand. And that's why I've got people calling me. Joe's got people calling, what do I do? What do I do? Well, we hate to say, you should have done it when I asked you to, or when I told you, but we do the best we can. But Jeffrey, I mean, shoot, business is tough, man. You said it. It's a tough game out there.
That's just barely scratching the surface there, brother. Let me tell you.
Yeah.
I'm watching the time. I promised you I'd only take about 30 minutes of your time today, because again, as you're watching these guys agreed to do this very last minute. so we can get, some of the current information, because there's so much misinformation floating around out there. So I just wanted to say we got like 5 minutes, and I promise we'll wrap up at bottom of the hour to respect your time. So
can I
please
wrap up with my last parting words? The advice that I give clients right now is the same advice I gave them before this happened. And Pat mentioned about building a house, building your business on rock. And the name of my business is Bedrock Business Builders. And there's a reason for that.
That's right.
Okay? If you're going to rely on the government to keep you in business, there's a problem. Okay? They might help you get over a little hump here with some cash, but it ain't going to save you. So you look in the mirror and say, what am I going to do? Where do I want to be when the dust settles? And that's what's going to make you successful. You, not the government. You have to take positive action and be in the solution.
Absolutely.
And I've heard that from several high performers that have been saying, look, if your business isn't functioning, guess what? It probably wasn't built on the right principles. But if you built your business on solid principles and values, you've got a good business model, then you'll be able to weather the storm. And a lot of weak businesses are going to get just taken out. That always happens in recessions.
Yeah.
And Jeff and Joe, I think this is very important. Yes, you need to be passionate about what you're doing for business. That my company is called Dignity Credit Solutions, because so many times people with credit issues have lost their dignity, and we help you get it back. But you have to have relevant business. One of the main reasons businesses fail is they have a product that nobody wants. They may be passionate about it, but I mean, let's be real here. Or in this case, if you like, I've got a very good friend who owns a restaurant, 83 employees. He had to let go 70 of his employees because people weren't coming in the door. Now he's doing deliveries and pickups, but bottom line is that business model isn't working right now. So you've got to have a business model that works in the times you're in. This is a perfect time to create a business, build it, grow it, and maybe sell it. Okay.
Yes. Now you both do a lot online. You have your own shows. How can we keep in touch with that? Because you mentioned, Pat, the weekly noon Zoom that you do.
Zoom at noon. That's right.
Zoom at noon.
Fridays at noon.
And that's Pacific time.
Pacific, California. So I make Joe stay up a little later.
Now you do that together.
3 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh my
when
God.
we can. He's on there most times, yes.
Have you bought that URL yet, Pat? Zoom at noon?
No, I should have.
Come on, Pat.
So the way people could get in touch with me, Jeffrey, is I'm building a nice little Facebook community. It's a private group that you can request to join. It's called Bedrock Business Builders on Facebook. Or they could just go to my website, bedrockbusinessbuilders.com, and you can connect with me that way.
Dignity Credit Solutions with Pat, and Bedrock Business Builders with Joe. And I've tell you, as you're watching this, I've tapped into Pat's Zoom at noon. I've tapped into Joe's group on Facebook and interacted with some of the stuff he's put. It's great information. It's stuff you need right now. If you want to get through this, if you want to run with us, if you want to be out front with the leaders when we get to the other side of this, these are two of the people that you need to be reaching out to and staying in touch with. We're right there. We're right at the bottom of the hour. Pat, Joe, thank you so much for doing this last second like this. I appreciate it. I know it's really, really been hectic for you guys.
Anytime, Jeffrey.
Anytime, Jeff. You just make the call. I'll be there, brother.
Appreciate that. And thank you for watching. Leave your comments, share this out, and we will see you on the next Wolf's Watch.